So the master cylinder's been leaking internally for quite some time, and it's getting to be a pain in the butt to drive. It should have been changed sooner, but just didn't have the time. So we're gonna get to unbolting it. You can actually see where some brake fluid's been leaking down the face of the booster, coming out the backside of the master cylinder there. So it's just time to change it. It's long overdue, and we're gonna get to it. Got a 9/16 wrench on here, and I checked real careful. You don't want to put a whole bunch of torque on there and end up breaking the line in there if it's rusted tight to the line. So these are free. So I'm gonna unloosen this last nut holding the master cylinder on. That's it though, lines are off. We'll get those 2 bolts out, and I'll meet you on the other side with the new master cylinder. All right, I want to show you guys something. Kind of freehanding the camera here, but that's not good. That the master cylinder has been back bleeding through the seal back into the booster. Hopefully the booster is going to be okay here. Not what I wanted to see. Whole bunch of brake fluid dripping out of there. So here's the new master cylinder, and what we're going to do here is we're going to throw, there are 2 different size plugs. There's got a bigger plug in the front and a smaller one in the rear for the rear circuit. So we'll get these plugs in, then we'll start the bleeding or priming of the new master cylinder. I've put them in before without doing this, and it is an absolute nightmare to get things bled because you're pumping so much air that's trapped in the master cylinder through the whole truck. Right now we just got a little bit of air caught at the top of the lines where we took them off. But if you were to not bleed this master cylinder, you're like I said, you're dumping a ton of air back into the system, and you'll be bleeding the truck all 4 corners for quite a while to get it right. So we'll start by putting these in. You don't want to overdo them because they're, plastic threads. And sometimes you'll have a barb on the end of these, and you'll take, they'll supply a hose for it, and those will go back in up to the top where your containers are, where your reservoir is, and you'll end up back feeding the fluid as you prime this back into there, and you keep recirculating and you keep getting the air to come up to the top. So we're going to start working this plunger here to get the air out of the master cylinder and prime it up. One thing you don't want to do is bottom this out. By bottoming this out, you could break the seal. Not a good thing. So it's kind of a by the feel thing. Just don't go all the way full bore on this. The new master cylinder is in, but it wasn't without problems. The brake line to the front circuit ended up being, the threads were shit from the factory. I was able to save it by throwing a tap in there and cleaning it out. But before I realized it, I almost damaged the brake line, the threads on the fitting, and almost took the threads out in the master cylinder. Without having another ride right now, that would have been a real pain to try and find a brake line and get a new master cylinder without having a vehicle to go get it. But it all came together. It's all back together. No harm, no foul. All 4 corners of the truck have been bled, and she's ready to hit the road.